Hello and welcome to another podcast of Youngstown Click, Be Connected. I'm so excited. Guys, I have a very interesting guest today. He grew up locally. You may even recognize the family name. And then he went off and did his adventures. And now he's back here doing some amazing things. I was so impressed looking at his at what he's doing. So before I introduce you to him, I want to let you know that we are recording from Cigarro Cigar Lounge out here in Hubbard, Ohio, right here on Main Street. It is a converted old house. It's super cool. All my guests love it when they come in, just because it has so much personality. There's a public downstairs. You could come in anytime, try cigars, get a cigar, buy it as guests with all the holidays coming up. And then upstairs is a members only area. So if you enjoy smoking cigars, consider becoming a member. But they let us do our podcast out of here. So thank you to Cigarro. And I just want to mention real quick, Ohio Flame, they make custom made fire pits right here in Columbiana. You could customize them, guys. And you know, when you have a party at your house, everybody gathers by the fire. It is a thing that everybody notices. Like, there's just something special about it. Through all human time, strangers become friends around the fire. And so who better to make your custom steel forged, like lifetime guarantee fire pit than Ohio Flame. So find them at ohioflame.com. And then the Gallagher building, downtown Youngstown. It is a converted over 100-year-old building. It had holes in the roof. It had all kinds of stuff because it had been there for so long. A lot of history in this building, and it is now apartments and Airbnb, living. So super excited to be connected to both of those. But if you have family coming in from out of town, or you just need a getaway, check out the Gallagher. They are beautiful, beautiful apartments in there. So, all right, let's get right into this. Joey Guerrieri. Joey, tell us who you, okay,
hello.
Yes, welcome to Youngstown Click podcast. As my listeners know, it's all about becoming connected, because you're more willing, you're more excited about life, the more connected you are. When you feel like you're out of the loop and you're not connected, your motivation to do anything or to even be who you're supposed to be goes down. So this is all about connection. And I'm so excited to have this new connection that just happened spontaneously. I saw him, guys. Okay, first of all, go ahead and introduce yourself. Man, I have so many questions and I'm all over the place. You just go. Take it away.
Well, my name's Joe Guerrieri. Our family has owned many businesses throughout the city, downtown.
Family of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Pal Joey's probably the most known one.
Yeah.
But myself, I started a tailor shop downtown. I was in LA for about 8-9 years. Got back around 2018. 19.
Okay. Before the shutdown and everything.
Yeah, before everything shut down. But was born and raised here. Went to school across the street at St. Pat's.
Nice. Right here in Hubbard.
Yeah. And
Small
then
world.
I grew up in the Liberty North Side area.
Okay.
And then...
So, okay, let me ask you this. Take us back real quick. Okay, no, actually, we're going to start with this cigar. We're going to start with the tailor shop. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine told me a few years ago, he said, leather work and tailor shops are kind of a dying skill that it's becoming more and more rare. So I'm happening downtown. I had a meeting and I was just going along and I see this guy scraping the window and I look and what's it say? There's a saying on the window that just caught my attention.
Yeah.
What's it say?
It says, "Who needs a gym when you have a good tailor?"
I love it. Is that like, right? Did you come up with that or is that?
So I had a client when I was in San Francisco who, he would fluctuate weight quite a bit. And, he was in and out of pieces and one day he came in and was like, "Man, who needs a gym when you have a good tailor?" Because the suit fit him great. I mean, he was a bigger dude too.
Yeah,
I mean, he was pretty tall. He was like 6'4". He was pretty filled out. But ever since then, the minute he came out of his mouth, I was like, you know what, I'm going to use that. That's a great.
It does. It got my attention. So then we started talking, and he took me to show me some of his pieces, the stuff that you've designed from scratch. Which honestly, if I were a guy, I would. I mean, because there's nobody. There's something amazing when you're wearing something that nobody else is wearing. You didn't get it from the mall. You didn't get it from like online. Everybody's like, "Oh, I saw that ad." You know what I'm saying? And it's made with quality. It's not, something that's going to fall apart after 2 times. So, I was so impressed. And then you make custom suits. You do alterations on suits. that type of thing. Tell us what the span of range is in your tailor shop.
So
And what's the name of it?
the shop's called Private Stash Atelier. Well, the brand is called Private Stash, but we're venturing into different aspects of the company. So
Okay.
right now our atelier is going to be like our workshop where we do all of our fashion aspect of it.
Okay. And online is that? How do you spell that? Like
Online, it's privatestash.com.
okay,
It's
so
private
it's
and
they don't
stash,
have to know how
STASH.
atelier
Yeah, they don't got to pull
sound.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Our range starts for we do two forms of tailoring in our shop. We have
Okay.
made to measure and we have bespoke. And pretty much the difference between that is our bespoke, a suit will start anywhere from $4,000 and go up,
Okay.
all hand stitched.
wow,
Pretty much we make a complete pattern from from all your measurements, and then you're gonna have probably 3 or 4 fittings through that. It's
Okay.
gonna be about a 8 to 12 week process depending on the complexity of the garment.
yeah,
Our made to measure process is a little bit more affordable. It's a lot quicker, so
Okay.
it's anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks,
okay,
depending on complexity. And your fittings are going to be somewhere between 1, maybe 2, which will be your initial fitting, and then when it comes in, we'll do any tweaks if you lost weight, gained weight.
Okay.
Have any different preferences as you start getting familiar with our process.
yeah,
Price range for a made to measure suit, we start off at $898, so it's a drastic difference. Quality isn't compromised at all. It's just that
Wow.
we are able to partner with a couple mills throughout Europe where we get really good deals on the fabrics.
okay,
So we're able to offer them at as low as possible price,
Wow.
we want to get clients initiated into custom wear.
yeah,
Because everybody thinks custom wear, I can't afford it, I can't do this, but the truth
Right.
is that if you're going to go to an Indochino, a Suit Supply, Men's Warehouse, anywhere like that, you're going to be paying $500-600 a suit. And for an
Yeah.
extra $200-300, you get full custom. You pick everything out you want. You're going to get a cut that's specific for you,
right,
as well as education on custom wear.
okay.
And you're going to feel the difference. When you go to those shops.
I'm
you're
telling
getting-
you, okay, I don't have any experience with custom wear, but I will tell you that I see the difference
Mm-hmm.
when a man walks into a room and you could tell that suit was made for him. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I as a nobody,
change the way
somebody
you
who
feel,
doesn't,
too.
it does.
Yeah.
Now again, like I love what everybody has to bring to the table and offer, but yeah, when you're minding your own business and then some man walks in with the suit that he owns, man, it gets
Commands
your
attention.
attention. It does, not just mine, but like the room, So absolutely, he feels it. You could tell he feels it.
Oh, yeah.
And so so knowing nothing about the industry, I still know enough to be like, dude, that's a nice. That's a symbol of quality. It's a symbol of class. All these things nobody really wants to like really sometimes differentiate. But yeah, no. So and I my dad, he's not a big one for that. So he was wearing a suit jacket that. I mean, the arms were too long and stuff. And it's good enough because it's just, one time a week that he wears it,
Yeah, yeah.
So I finally took him to a shop and got him 2 suit jackets. And those look so much better, but they weren't customized. They weren't alterated or anything. So I can't wait for the day that I could take him in and say, Dad, let's get you something that is made or customized for you. Because you know the difference.
Well, listen, I tell all my clients when they first come in, because we're appointment only.
Okay,
we,
yeah.
We want to have a little bit more personal, time with
Yeah.
the client. We don't just have, people roaming around the shop and our attention being, taken away.
Yeah.
So we we tell clients when they first come in, if you have pieces that, don't fit you as well, or they're not really beat up on,
Yeah.
bring them in. We can clean them up and make them fit just as good, if not better.
Wow.
And that way you can allocate that money towards something else, because we like to see, when you go place, you see a guy with a nice suit and maybe some crappy shoes or, not
true.
real great of a tie or a worn out shirt,
Yeah.
So, let's put that money that you were going to get for maybe a new suit and get you a couple shirts,
Yeah.
a new pair of shoes, some ties. And that way you're really,
Wow, the
bringing the whole wardrobe back to life. And
So in a way, they're not just getting a suit, but they're getting a personal stylist.
oh yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
incredible.
And it's wild because when I started doing this, I didn't think I would get into fashion as deep as I am. And you get clients that call you and say, "Hey, I want you to come over. You got to go through my whole wardrobe. I need you to clean out my closet. We need to start fresh." So you'll go there and you're actually becoming now a stylist, as well as what do you need in your closet? What don't you need? What do you like? Because you get some guys that'll come into our shop and they'll say, "I'm here for a navy suit. I need just a navy suit to wear."
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're getting a Bordeaux or like a deep maroon. Or, you know, it's just, you know, you don't know what you really want until you actually see what all the options that are laid out for you.
That is amazing.
So when we go to some of these houses, you know, a lot of times it's emotional attachment to pieces, or just not wanting to get rid of things because they feel guilty.
I go through that. Absolutely.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
You know, so once we can get through that of like, listen, you're not going to die and nobody's going to hate you. You get rid of this if they got you as a gift. You know, you start being able to see people get out of their comfort zone and they start, you know, maybe liking things that they normally wouldn't. You know, you get guys that, you know, don't want to show a little bit of sleeve with their shirt. After, you know, they just want to show a little bit of cuff.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so maybe now they're pulling it up about a ½ inch rather than not showing it at all.
Right. You know what I noticed too, that I guess I noticed now I never really paid attention to cufflinks.
Yeah.
I love good cufflinks.
Yeah, French cuffs are coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they ever went anywhere, but you know, we're starting to see a lot more young professionals go towards the cufflink. Just to show a little bit more flair.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So
there's so many cool ones too. You always, you know, there's always.
And when I went in, even okay, so when I went into his shop, guys, he has this bust, and it has like, it's almost like the who's that guy in the superhero movies? He's like half the face, Two-Face or whatever.
Harvey, yeah.
Harvey, yes. Okay, so because one side of the suit is like the lapel is one way and it's like a certain style, and then the other side and it's different fabrics. So I actually thought it was a design. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
But really, so you have it there so that people could say, I like that kind of thing. I like this kind of how this lays the pockets and all.
Yeah,
so many details, but I love that your voice becomes a more authoritative or more a more comforting voice than the voices in your head saying, I can't afford it, or oh, I'm too fat, or I'm too this, or whatever. You know what I mean? When your voice of experience and everything comes in, I'm sure that's a good feeling for people. Do you do men and women's?
Men's, women's, youth to an extent.
Oh, okay.
It just depends. You know, we try to. You know, it depends on the parent.
Okay.
We did First Communion, which was probably the youngest kid I did, other than like a little baby's christening type of thing. But the younger ones are a little more difficult because they're going to get a couple wears out of it. We don't want to fit anybody in oversized wear because we're all custom, so we want it to be appropriate. But I'd say like 15, 16, those are pretty much a good age to start.
Yeah. Okay.
And up from there. Just because they're going to hit growth spurts, but you can control that with sleeve length, you know, stuff like that. Unless their waists are getting huge or their chests are really getting big, and they're stuff like that. You can kind of get a little bit more wear out of it. But those younger kids that are coming up that are 10
now, 11, now
they're going to hit the crazy growth spurts. 4 or 5 inches.
What about the stuff that you do aside from like custom made suits? Like you actually have designed stuff.
Yeah,
talk to us a little bit about that.
So when I first got into fashion, we started with, I had a design book that I had about 15 or 16 things in, and I kind of bullied my way into the fashion industry. I didn't have any real, I didn't go to school for it. I didn't have any real knowledge of the industry. Yeah. So a friend of mine.
It's the Youngstown attribute.
Yeah. You know, a friend of mine put me in touch with a pattern maker, and then I went there one day, and, you know, her shop was enormous. She had seamstresses, cutters. She had people that were strictly doing just pattern work. She had, you know, people that were grading everything. So it was walking in there was cool because there was so much going on. And then I showed her a couple designs. Said, "Hey, I'm interested in fashion. I would like to try to get something made. You know, how do I go about doing that?" And she was just like, "All right, leave it here. You know, we'll come back in a couple days." So I ended up sitting down and I was there for a couple hours just watching them. And she was like, "You know, we're not going to get this today."
Right.
So yeah, I understand. I just want to, you know, take it in. You know. A lot going on in here. It's pretty cool.
You're like, I'm here. I'm not leaving.
Yeah. Because I like to be physically hands-on with stuff. You know, I the back end of the business, you know, the money and all that stuff, and that's, you can get lost in that stuff. You know,
yeah,
I'm more of the creative aspect.
Okay.
So when I started doing it, I didn't know about fabric sourcing, pricing, none of that. So I found a couple rag houses in downtown LA, close to our loft, and you know. You'd have to buy at the place I would go to 30 meters of fabric. You couldn't just buy like a yard or two.
Got it.
You know,
okay.
So I had to be selective with my fabric when I first was buying it. So, you know, starting this, you know, I was very naive. You don't realize how much something costs, and
right.
So, you know, because fabric you can get cheap. You know, $2.40 a yard. You know, $2.40.
Like Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah, you like stuff like that, and it can go up to, you know, 100, 200 depending on the material.
My goodness.
So when we started, we were very conscious of like what things cost because LA was so expensive. When I got out there, it was paycheck to paycheck. Then when I was doing the fashion, I was able to get in at a hotel where I was at and I was working. So we had constant cash flow. We were getting a paycheck, so it was nice. So I was able to afford fabric. So when we were first creating it, everything, it was what we want the theme to be.
Okay.
So the brand, I figured, we'll have a little bit of a military inspiration on it. I want to do a winter look, fall type of stuff first.
Yeah.
So we picked neutral colors. I say we, myself.
Yeah.
But I just hate saying I or me.
I know.
It makes me uncomfortable. It's just like, don't be talking about yourself. But I like neutral colors. I like earth tones. Mm-hmm. So everything was not dark, but, you got the mossy greens, you got the ash, you got light navy or not light navy, you got navies and you got light greens, stuff like that.
Okay.
So the first thing we did was a t-shirt, and from there it went all the way to a fur jacket.
Wow.
So I didn't really have any range. Looking back on all of it, I would have probably just started with hats. Because how I first started everything, we started with just embroidering blank hats with our logo on it.
Okay.
And then, it got kind of popular, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to be the hat guy. I want to learn this actual fashion industry.
Got it.
So that's when I got put on with the pattern maker and all them. And, we kind of started with the t-shirt, and then the t-shirt went to a dress shirt, and the dress shirt went to a pair of pants, and then to a hoodie, and then to a sweatshirt, and then to an overcoat, and then to a fur coat. And next thing you know, you got,
incredible,
a few $1,000s worth of samples, and you don't know what to do with. And then you just got to kind of figure out the industry. So you start asking questions. And
yeah. Now, how did you pick your name?
So I wore a lot of vintage and just denim at the time.
Okay.
And not like kids are with vintage now. I wore a pair of Levi's and I'd get like a thrifted shirt or something like that.
Right, right.
So, as you find little things, people, wait, where'd you get that from? And I just tell them it's out of my private stash. And then I just kind of kept going with it.
Wow.
And, and then I figured brand wise, I'll keep the name because we can explore, other options. Like we want to get into, our own cigar. We want to get into our own wine and spirits, stuff like that. And just build lanes into because we want to eventually turn the brand into a full social brand.
Okay. That's what I was going to say. I could feel the vein that runs through it is just your DNA on things, your style, the way you see things on stuff. And everybody likes the idea of having a private stash.
Right. Everybody's got one, whether it's
money or
jewelry, whatever. You got your little stash.
That's cool. Okay, so so you graduated from this school over in Hubbard?
No. So I went to preschool in Hubbard up to like third grade, and then went to Girard.
Okay, so where did you graduate from?
I graduated from Canfield High School. Canfield. I went there only my senior year, though.
Wow. Okay, man.
I love Canfield. I love you guys, but I'm not going to claim you.
All right, so a lot of people around town probably have bumped into you at some point along the way, right?
I mean, I went to Ursa my freshman, sophomore year, Liberty my junior year.
Wow.
So it was, like I said, we were Northsiders, Liberty area.
Okay.
I'd say like 4th through 8th grade was all Liberty, so it was all those friends. And then like the younger schools, preschool and like 3rd grade, that stuff. It's all our Catholic friends.
So right.
So like I get to Ursa and I haven't seen these kids in years. And then,
right.
When I went back to my high school at Liberty my junior year, it was just all friends that I grew up with. So
that's cool.
I had a really unique upbringing.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like it. Okay, so take us back. We're going to go a little bit personal. So you grew up in high school. You were working at Pal Joey's, the family business, the family restaurant, and you mentioned that you were DJing during there. So tell us a little bit about that, and then how you ended up in LA. Like, since fashion was kind of accidental, what did you intend to go out there for, or did it you just went out and were having a good time, and then you stumbled across this, or like tell us how you went from being here in town with the family business to out in LA, stumbling into fashion.
So pretty much I did everything there was to do here, in my opinion. I worked for the city for about 4 years at the water department.
Okay.
Our family's bars, restaurants, my dad's construction company.
Oh, he has a construction company too?
Absolutely. J. Guerrieri Construction.
Okay.
If anybody needs any residential
he still has it?
Work, 330-565-9899.
There you go. Wait, say it again, unapologetically.
330-565-9899. Call Joe for all your...
Does he do pretty much all the...
I've seen that man build buildings from scratch. Wow. He can do it all. He's
incredible.
Yeah, I get a lot of my drive from him. I mean, he's done everything. started businesses. I mean, he's done construction his whole life, but
Wow.
he's a hustler.
Yeah, it
Him
sounds
and
like
my
it.
mom both. You know, my mom, when I was younger, she had a clothing shop in Boardman where where Aladdin's is?
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
next to it. I think it's Krakatoa now.
Yeah,
But it
okay.
used to be called Krista's Boutique.
Really?
And she would bring, big city fashion from Chicago, New
Come
York, LA. She would
on.
bring it here, and it was just, it worked, but it was just ahead of its time. You
Yep.
know, it was like the heydays of the '90s. So it was like certain clientele. It was for the classes more than the masses.
Right. Ooh, that's a nice
Yeah.
little thing. I know. You know what? Honestly, the older I get, I think the more I appreciate. Kids, they want to go to the mall. They want to do whatever the magazines or anybody says is popular. That's what they want. But the older you get, like actually, my nephew came to visit, and I said, and he, needed clothes. My sister was, kind of single mom, you know what I'm saying? Single mom life, right? So I was like, hey, let's go get you some clothes. Where do you want to go? And I had mentioned H&M. So we tried to go to H&M, and he wasn't feeling any of the clothes, and they just weren't fitting him right. It's made for a certain person, and and I was like, come on, what about this? What about this? Like trying to force him into this, you know? And then finally he says, do you guys have a thrift store here? I said, what? He said, do you guys have like a thrift store? I said, I know what a thrift store is. I said, what, okay. So we went to a thrift store, and he was trying on all these suit jackets with this vest, and it was like every time he tried something else on, he had a totally different look. And at that moment, I appreciated
fashionista.
I appreciated the thrift store. This kid walked out with 7 different looks.
Yeah.
For like a little over $100 or right around $100. I could not believe it. And so from there on out, I was like, okay, I have appreciation for thrift store. And a lot of people do because of the song, but I'm not really
I will say this to anybody that's listening. You don't really think about it, but alterations make all the difference. You know, I've had friends when we were younger that would get clothes that were just brand name. They liked it because it was, Louis Vuitton or whatever,
Okay.
and they would wear it, and it was ill fitting. It either was too tight or it was too baggy, and they got it just for the name. But the look is in the drape. Where you get the money look and everything is the fit. Nowadays kids think everything needs to be super tight because it's tailored fit. And it's like, what you understand is you want your pant to move when you move. You don't want it to be stuck to your leg like it's spandex.
Right.
But tailoring, alterations can go a long way. I recommend alterations to anybody, whether it's a jean that's too baggy at the ankle or too big in the waist, or anything. A shirt you buy off the rack that's a little bit too big. People don't realize you can get a dress shirt from anywhere, Express, all that. And if it's a little big, you just add some darts to the back. Give you give a little bit of a thinner waist.
Okay. All right.
So there's little secrets
So you
to
gave your
that.
dad's phone number. Go ahead and give your phone number because they have to make an appointment, right?
They can go to our website and really
perfect.
do it straight from the website. Yeah.
Okay. So they get their phone number from privatestash.com. Okay. Or make an appointment. All right. So let's go back to you. So you had all this experience.
So when I started in Youngstown, it was the water department. We had Pal Joey's, all the family restaurants, and I just didn't see. I didn't see really much anything pushing here anymore.
Okay.
It was like my friends all were going to school. They were all out of town, or they were getting ready to do what they were doing professionally. So I moved out to LA, and my first job out there was with Rolling Stone magazine's nightclub and restaurant.
Okay.
And I lucked into that job. A buddy of mine was a little hungover from the night before, and with the club scene out there, the bottle service people, they'll go out there earlier in the day at some places, and they'll set everything up and then come back at night. So they clock in during the day and then clock in at night.
Okay.
Long story short, he was hungover on the clock, and the manager was from Baltimore. He was a cool dude, but he was yelling at him. I was like, it was my bad. We went out last night. I haven't seen him in years. He'll be at work tonight. He'll be good. So he went in that night, worked. Everything was fine. Next day, I went up just to grab something to eat there. And he was like, hey, that was pretty cool what you did for your buddy last night. He goes, you need a job. And I was like, man, do I ever?
Way.
So he brought me in. I was like expo and food in the restaurant, and then did that for a few weeks. And then one day, one of the opening DJs didn't show up or something for an audition or whatnot, and they didn't have anybody to fill the slot for earlier in the night. And I was like, I got my computer. I can be back in like 10 minutes. So went downstairs and played around with it for a little bit and showed them
That you knew it.
Yeah,
you knew your way
I
around.
worked and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah, and ended up opening for the DJ that night, and then ended up opening the next night for a guy, and then they ended up giving me two-night residency, opening up on Thursdays for
No
main DJ,
way.
and then in the back private room, which held like 50 people for private events and stuff like that.
I bet your dad was so proud because like he owned Pal Joey's, so he kind of like everything he had taught you, like got you.
Yeah, I think he was happy. I just wasn't, you know.
You weren't like jobless.
Yeah,
You were
I
making
was making some
okay.
money, and I wasn't just dicking around.
So okay, so when you were let's stay on that for a minute. So did you see a lot of high profile people come through there? Because it's
I would say my first month at that restaurant, I seen every person from my childhood in the music industry that I admired.
wow.
Yeah, it was intense. Like the first night that I worked in the downstairs lounge area. It was like Ludacris was the first person there. Wait, it was like an event for it because it was right next to the Grom's Chinese Theater. So when they would do the movie premieres and stuff there, they would walk over and they would have
my goodness
the nightclub. And it was just like, I think the first night it was like one of the Kate Beckinsale movies she did when she was like a vampire or something.
Yeah, Underworld.
Yeah. And it was just, I mean, it was a who's who of everybody. And you're walking through, because not only was I working upstairs, I was working downstairs. So after I would open, they'd let me do bottle service.
Okay.
So in like ours, you had the bottle service girls, but we had to go and just fill all the ice and talk to the client. What do you need? You need more of this, more of that, more pineapple juice, cranberry juice.
Got it. Okay.
And that alone, you start seeing these people, and it's like, yo, like, I listened to your album when I was in high school, man. Like, this is nuts.
And they're like, just give me the pineapple
face to face. Yeah, some of them were cool. Some of them will, bullshit a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, we're there just...
Yeah, your job is to talk.
Yeah, we're right there with them, having a good time. We're dancing next to the tables and, running liquor.
So how does that work? Do you just keep charging it to the bill, or when they come in, is it like, do they get a bill like the next week?
No, so what they'll do is they'll each have their own personal hostess, and she'll...
Keep track.
Yeah, so they'll literally either take a card before or they'll take a card after. I mean, usually with the high-profile clients, they'll just get it after.
Wow.
And yeah, they just run up their bill and have fun.
They don't even have to look at it.
Yeah, it was cool because it's like you're vicariously living through them working there. I mean, it was a very cool atmosphere.
Man.
So you do that for like a year, and then you're up and down Hollywood Boulevard, and after a year, you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
It becomes more of you're going to bed or late, and you're waking up at 2-3 in the afternoon.
Right, and you realize it's everybody else's life, not your own.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore.
So, okay.
One of my main rules was anywhere I worked out in LA, I had to be within a mile. So, because I didn't have a car, so it was like I got to be walking distance or take a bus or an Uber.
I love that hustle.
And they had to feed me. Because it's like making rent, but I need to be fed too. So it's like, I
hey,
can't be
it's
wasting
good
money
food.
on food.
Other people are paying tons of money for it.
I was eating skirt steaks, and
I should have talked to you before I moved to New York City, man. I would
great.
have been. My whole experience would have been different.
It was great.
Wow.
But I did that for about a year, and then I was like, this is cool, but like I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then we had friends that were in film and photography, and friends that modeled, and friends that did a little bit of fashion, and I just knew that I liked being creative, and I wanted to do something in a creative field that incorporated everything that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to have. I knew when I was going out there, I wasn't going to work for somebody.
Yeah.
The rest of my life, I was going to have my own business, and
wow.
The next job was I ended up getting a job at this restaurant, Japanese restaurant called Katana, next to the Comedy Store.
I feel like I've heard of that. Okay.
It's amazing food. I mean, and that place was just as good as Rolling Stone as far as the clientele. We had the Lakers, we had the Clippers, we had Dr. Dre as a regular. It was you get a lot of high profile people that were through there, and you start as the busboy, and then you work your way up to server or runner, and then bar back, bartender, and it goes from there. So it was just I did that for about a year, maybe 2.
Okay.
And while I was doing that is when I came up with the idea of Private Stash I wanted to start a little clothing brand, and we started pushing hats, and then you don't want to interrupt people when they're talking, so it wasn't a place where you can really be vocal about what you do, and you don't want to come off like that there. So it was
you just would have to wear it.
Yeah, and when we were working there too, my thing is I'm there to wear any money. So it's like, and everybody out in LA, that has a job they're there just to take up time and get a paycheck.
Yeah,
they're an actor or an actress or a model or
right.
Nobody's there to work. So
right.
I brought my Midwest work ethic. So I everywhere I was at, I was loved by our management and the GMs and whatnot because we worked our asses off.
Yeah, you had that built in.
Yeah, so that helped us a lot, with just getting ins at other places and meeting people and being able to have a little bit of flexibility around certain celebrities.
Absolutely.
So then, as I started coming to the realization that I didn't want to be in that industry anymore, I was like, you know what, I need to get somewhere I could still talk to people, make decent money, and be able to do this side hustle I want to start.
Yeah.
It was almost a full-timer.
Yeah.
So I got a job as a valet.
Oh, no way. Oh, my
I was like, you could be free and casual and talk to people. You just got to go run and grab a car and bring some luggage in.
Yeah.
I was like,
did you get tipped really good?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. We made really good money.
I love the song Andy Grammer, right about now, or what is it? Now he's a valet. You know what song I'm talking about? Why? Oh, Good to Be Alive.
Good to be alive.
Good to be alive, right about now. Good to be alive. And if you just listen to the song, right, you think, oh man, he's made it, right? But in the music video, he's a valet, and so he's driving a customer's car, and like
one of my honestly, it was one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. You're driving cars that you have no business driving.
Man,
and the stuff. I mean, there were some cars you'd get in and then look at the other valets and be like, I don't know how to start this thing. You got to take this. You don't know where the ignition is.
Oh,
it's just,
man, wow.
And then
how fun. So what was that for? A restaurant or hotel?
So I worked at the Standard Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, which
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Get Him to the Greek. It's where Russell Brand jumped off the roof into the pool and it broke his arm or his leg or whatever that was.
Oh, man. What's the movie?
Get Him to the Greek.
Okay.
With Diddy, and it's
Okay.
comedy.
Okay.
But it was like they had one in Hollywood too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of everywhere, but I think the Hollywood one's closed now. The downtown one's closed now.
Oh, that's too
didn't
bad.
make it to the pandemic.
So many, yeah.
But it was like a who's who spot. And, we did a lot of like Netflix. When the award season would come, they would always rent out the rooftop.
Okay.
So you get like Amazon, things like.
See, and then you think, how could places like that fail? But the thing is the price to be that is also high.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
They got listings everywhere too. I mean, they got a really, really nice place down in Florida. Like
really?
Miami, like around there. It's on like little island. You have to take a bridge to get there.
Are you serious?
And then, I think they got one in Europe.
So real quick, I have a quick question about DJs, right? Mm-hmm. What makes the DJs, you know how like people are like, oh, this DJ, if he's there, we're going, right? And then other DJs are just not. So what's the difference? Is it the personality of the DJ or is it how they mix the music? What's the art of the DJ?
There's all different types. You got and all the genres too. You got EDM, you got strictly soul, you got hip hop DJs. So it's like at our shop, we don't really. Okay. Like for example, like at our shop, I'll play. My friends will send me from LA or wherever they're at. They'll send me like hour-long mixes. With different tempos and different. You'll have some that are strictly rap. You'll have some that are a little bit of everything. You'll have just rock ones. So it's like never dead air. It's always a consistent good pace throughout the shop when people are in. You don't have to worry about skipping the song or putting something on.
Or the commercials coming on. That's how
I like
and all
listening to
that
music.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Honestly, DJing was great, but it was just so. When it started becoming a job is when I started like not liking it. When you had to, there was so much new music coming out. You have to always have a new set. Because if you're playing at the same place multiple times a week or on the same street at different clubs, it's just like can't have the same set at every place every week for the two. It's always got to be different.
Right. I guess that's the
always
thing.
And all the new remixes are coming, and it was. I was doing it just a hobby and just was making some money off it, and then. Went out there. That's why I said it was.
All of a sudden,
did it for a year. It was great, and it was just this isn't something I really wanted to do. So I liked collecting vinyl. I liked playing around, but it was more of just being in the atmosphere. Like I said, when we were home, and you have the nightclub. It's like you walk around, see everybody.
Right. Okay. Big man on campus. Yeah, that's the big. Okay.
You can come in. You got to stay in line.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Just messing with people outside. We would. I mean, and like I said, I went to 3 high school, so everybody had an idea, or if I met, who knew who I was, they knew our family had the bar. They didn't really necessarily know me. So your sisters are outside. They said they want to see you at the front door. They want to come in. It's like, well,
your sisters.
At this point in time, my sisters are like 2 years old, 3 years old. So there's no way they're asking for me. Then you come out there and it's just like, all right, well.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So let's go back to your family, and then we'll catch up to you back in LA.
Yeah.
LA. You were not an only child.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so how many kids were in your family?
I have 7 siblings, including
Wow.
myself.
Okay, so are you pretty much all into entrepreneurial? Like, have you all picked up that gene, that entrepreneurial, creative?
So my mom and with my mom's and dad, when they had me and my brother Max. And
Okay.
then my dad's second marriage, she had my brother Santino and Gino.
Okay.
And then my mom's other marriage, she had Serena, Christopher, and Summer.
Oh wow, man! There's like
So
a
we're
patterns
not
in
full
all the
blood, but like
names.
I wiped all their asses, so I'm considering them all full brothers and
Right.
sisters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So
I see what you're
my
saying.
brother Santino, he's probably the closest out of all my siblings with the entrepreneurial aspect.
Okay.
He owns his own restaurant out in Niles called Tino's. Another selfish plug.
What?
Tio's out in Niles. It's where the old Spinners was in that plaza that Raphael's is in.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
What kind of
catty
food do
corner
they
to
have?
Vernon's. It's Italian, so it's like fast casual. So you can go in and order a full
Tino's.
pasta meal, and they'll hand toss it. You'll get it in like 5 minutes.
Ooh, maybe I should try that.
Yeah, really good. Homemade
Is it-
sauces. Everything's homemade.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
very good.
wow. Okay. Tino's. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'll bring that to you, Youngstown Click. So make sure you keep an eye on Facebook.
Yeah, very good.
I'll
Very
give
good.
you
He
the
does
inside
catering
scoop.
too. So if you need
Okay.
something for Thanksgiving, Christmas is coming up.
Got
They
it.
do catering orders as well.
Okay. Does he go to the Italian festival out there? Warren has
No,
the
he doesn't
best,
do any.
Man.
He's not. He's not. I don't know if he's. I wouldn't say he's there. Not that he's there. Not there yet.
Yeah,
but he's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
He has his restaurant. They're
Yeah,
focused on getting
and
that right.
that's got to be your
His
focus.
product's so good. Like they're not even thinking about doing that yet.
Okay.
I mean, he's
Okay.
looking to expand and start another location somewhere else.
Nice.
Yeah, that's where
Okay.
he wants to be.
Wow. All right. I'll have to check that out. So I love the Italian Village in Boardman.
Yep.
And everybody has their favorite Italian restaurants. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely check
Tino's
that out.
Italian
Like it.
Kitchen in Niles.
Okay.
Check it
All
out.
right. Cool. Okay. So back to you in LA. So you have this idea now. In all this hustling and all this working, you kind of have this idea, and then you just talk to a friend and said, "Hey, like I want this," and she hooks you up.
Well, we have friends, like I said, that were models, and you listen to their stories, and like, I walked the runway today. It was such a hard day. I was like, well, you walked one line and made like 10 grand. Like, how hard of a day did you have? Like, because when I started, like I said, I didn't have any real formal upbringing into this fashion industry.
Right.
So I was really naive going into it.
Okay.
I just knew that when I went into it, I didn't want to do like T-shirts and stuff like that. Because if I was going to do something and go all in on it, like I didn't want my parents going to like their friends, and be like, yeah, my son's a fashion designer, and then you pull up a screen printed T-shirt site, and it's like, oh, he does T-shirts. I wanted to. My dad's a
All right.
a 3rd generation carpenter. I can't be half-assed in the fashion industry.
Oh man, yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, we brought some ideas to this lady, and thank you Standard Hotel for pretty much paying for my upbringing in class.
That is incredible. Incredible. Okay, so now you're out there. You're kind of starting this. Now, what brought you back to Youngstown?
So once I made like a dozen samples,
Okay.
my goal was to find the buyers of Barney's, get it in Barney's, and then just be done with fashion, just to say that I did it and figure out what I actually wanted to do.
Okay.
You know, 'cause,
All
like,
right.
So I got when I got into it, we made everything, and then after I was like, man, how do I sell this shit? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
and a friend of mine knew some buyers at Barney's and put up a meeting with me, and went to a coffee shop. I don't drink coffee, but went there and met them, and they were like, this is crazy. You did this in a year with no schooling? Like, this is something you'd give a senior project. This is what it would be.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, so like, are you guys going to buy it or not? And they're like, well, we need to know your story. Like, what's up? So
Okay.
did the same thing I'm doing with you, kind of gave them a rundown, sourced my own fabric, found the right people,
Yeah.
learned a little bit. And they were just like, all right, man, well, obviously you got the eye for this, so you can do this, but obviously know how expensive it is to be in this industry with no, backing and no real anything
right.
behind you. So they were like, I was like, what do I got to do? Obviously I'm not going to be put in your store. They gave me the whole spiel of why I couldn't. And,
got
and they were more than happy. They were like, listen, we would buy this, but there's,
You have to be able to maintain and sustain and everything.
yeah. So it's like their buying power can be jeopardized, and their jobs, stuff like that, if it's a dud and things like that. So
Okay.
they walked me through it, because the first thing they asked, like, what's your following like? And I was like, well, I didn't have social media at the time, so I was like, I got my parents, my family, like, what kind of following are you looking for? So
I love it.
Once we cut through all
every dream starts somewhere. Okay,
yeah,
good.
once we cut through all like the superficial stuff, I'm a straight shooter. So I was like, what do I got to do? What's my next steps? And they're like,
Right.
well, you want to get some photographs. You need to start a lookbook. You need to start getting people in your stuff. You need to start, not so much advertising, but getting your stuff out there. Go
Right.
find somewhere where celebrities are hanging out, and just give them your hats, give them some
Got
T-shirts,
it.
give them stuff like that. See if they'll wear it. You can start getting
Yeah.
some publications a little bit. So after that meeting, I was like, damn, so this is going to be a little harder than I thought. I'm not getting into Barney, so I didn't think it was going to be that hard.
Your stuff is amazing. Yeah.
It's, we put a lot of work into it. People don't realize, like, why is that T-shirt $200? If, this is just a newer designer. It's like, well, that fabric costs, we used $45 worth of fabric. The pattern was $65 to make, for them to put everything together. My seamstress, that was like $100. So you got, $100+ that, and then you try the sample on, and it's, well, I don't like the neck, or I don't like the shoulders of this. I don't like the length of it. I don't like how bulky it is. So then you rework that whole pattern again and go through that whole process again and try it again. And I don't like this part of it now. I don't like this part. So, we did 6 or 7 T-shirts before we figured our pattern out. It's
Wow.
it adds up. And then you do that with more technical patterns, and it adds up even more. And then you get to the point where it's like, well, now that I got it, how do I sell it? And so that's when I met with them, and they kind of put me on to some game. And, after that meeting, I was like, you know what? I've never had a job in retail. I'm going to get a job in retail. So I put a resume out to everybody and anyone that would take one, I wanted to be an actual apprentice at a tailor shop, but the Irish wouldn't take me. The Italians weren't taking anybody. They didn't even want anybody to sweep floors because they just didn't want you in there, because they knew that if they kept you in there, they felt guilty and would have to pay you.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I just kept staying at the people that would make my stuff. And then they taught me how to kind of do a little bit of pattern work, a little bit of cutting, a little bit of seamstress, stuff like that. And then there was a Hispanic family that had a alteration shop under my loft in the same building.
Okay.
So I would literally go there when I wasn't at those places.
Okay.
And I just watched them rip apart clothes and put it back together. And
wow,
it was great because the language barrier was just a huge one. So it was just all pointing and making noises, or speaking little bits of Spanish, not much. And
they were just willing to show you, let you watch.
Yeah, it's cool. You bring some donuts or bring coffee, or whatever. And just it's all about respect. I'm not going there to take anything from you. I'm only trying to add and just learn. And it's like, if you're willing to give me the time of day, then I'm not going to take your time for granted.
Right.
So you do that enough. I remember I bought my first machine, and then I think the first thing I ever tried to sew was a pair of gloves, which is like one of the hardest things you can do. And, it didn't come out horrible, but it didn't come out great. But it's funny because, I have a little box, and I look through every now and again. You see all the things you made when you first started off. It's like a wallet, a glove, and random stuff. And you're just like, God, I was so bad. But it's cool because then you see where you're at now, and,
Yes, and sometimes I go through the store or go through a place, and I'm like, who would buy this? I mean, it's. I feel like it's not. I mean, so.
Well, what doesn't work here might work somewhere else.
That's what I'm saying.
My demographic in LA is completely different than my demographic here.
Right.
Same thing with Chicago and Nashville.
But that's what I'm saying is somebody's buying it because it's in a store. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, this doesn't even. You know what I'm saying? So
you see some of these like runway shows, and you're like, that's not practical. When are they going to wear that? And it's like, well, it's not meant to be practical. It's more for the showmanship of everything. And it's like, if you look like. They're in a big parrot costume, but look at the purse. Like, the purse is what you're going to be wearing every day. The earrings are what you're going to be wearing. You're not going to be wearing
it's to get your attention.
6-foot bird costume, or whatever they're doing their stuff out of to get attention to their specific.
So, do you enjoy going to fashion shows?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't come up formally in the fashion industry, so I don't have the whole the etiquette of it.
Yeah,
I guess you'll never hear me just dropping names of designers and things like that.
Right.
Like I can hold a conversation, but it doesn't fully interest me to a full extent. I like to have my own blinders on and just do my own thing. If something catches my eye, I'll do my research on it, and that's kind of how I started everything. Because once you start making something and you start comparing it with somebody else or another brand, then you're just playing catch up to them. You're not really building your brand up, you're just trying to emulate what they're doing and just stay on pace. And you put the blinders on, gives you a little bit more creativity and a little bit more freedom to explore options that you wouldn't just off of based what everybody else is doing.
Okay, so you came back home to kind of like regroup after the Barney situation?
No, so after the Barney situation, I got a job. Like I said, nobody was taking me to the tailors or any of that.
Oh, okay.
The retail stores, because I didn't have any experience.
Yeah.
They're just like, you don't have experience, this isn't going to work. And it's like, I'll out hustle everybody in the shop.
Right.
So I put a resume into a place called Klein Epstein Parker, and they were the only ones to get back to me. And when they first called me, I was like, "Is this what's this, a law firm?" Like,
I
mean, when I tell you the resumes I put in, I had to put in probably 800 resumes. Anywhere in LA that would take anyone.
Right.
And they got back to me, and I went and did an interview. And halfway, it was a suit shop, so it was just a made-to-measure shop. So all that you went in, you picked a fabric and designed, and then that was it. You come back in 6 weeks, and you have your suit.
Okay.
So they had 3 stores: one in San Francisco, one in West Hollywood, and one down towards San Diego.
Okay.
And when I went in for my interview, we were like 10 minutes in. He was just like, "Man, you have no experience." And I was like, "Yeah, man, but I'm a really hard worker."
Yeah.
And then, they're just like, "Okay, Joe Schmo, like no retail experience,
Right.
bar, restaurant, bar."
Right.
So it's So when I got into like halfway through our interview, I was like, "You know what? Hold on a second." I ran out to my car, I grabbed every sample that I had, and just brought it in, threw it on the table, and was like,
great
"I'm
idea.
overqualified for this position. No offense. Like I know how to sew, like I know how to style. You guys can." Round off my rough edges.
Yes.
Just, teach me the etiquettes, teach me the wording, teach me the, about a little bit more about fabrics.
Right.
You can groom me a little bit, and then I'm gonna be your best salesman.
Yeah.
So he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna let you meet our owner." It was a husband and wife couple that owned
Nice.
the brand.
Okay.
And I met with her, and it was a great interview. She was like, "Let's do this." So
Yeah.
she gave me the first job there, and they brought me on as an intern.
Okay.
Which kind of chapped my ass a little bit because it was like a $10 an hour job, and I was
in LA.
in LA, just like check to
my
check, living in a little box.
Yeah.
So I did that for like 2 weeks, and I was like, "You know what? I quit. I can't do this. I can't work for $10 an hour. Like I'm gonna be starving here."
Right,
I got my
right.
paycheck, and I was like, "What the fuck? I spend this on dinner some places." Like what?
Oh, right.
So
Oof.
they're like, "We'll give you a $2 raise," and at the time. They weren't so much a part of the company, the husband and wife. It was mostly this other gentleman that was the GM running kind of all of them.
Okay,
So
okay.
it was a weird dynamic. I was the only straight male in all the company.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So it was, and I learned so much from my, colleagues there.
Yeah.
And it was a great. It was
Time of learning.
Yeah, it was just a great. Like I said, it was. Just, being the only straight male in there was a different dynamic. So you learn and you play off of all the different, because
All kinds of
everybody got different
emotion.
personalities.
Yeah.
You got our one guy was super flamboyant. So it was
Okay.
like cartoon suits. I mean, multicolored suits, polka dot suits, like stuff you're not going to see. It was the most unique stuff you'll ever see.
Wow.
So you have him, and then you have another guy who's looks like Gordon Gekko from Wall Street, who I didn't know was gay until like 2 months into working there.
Are you
and he was just like,
serious?
"Yeah, there's a time and place. Like you could be super flamboyant, like Parade, or you could
Right.
be, business, or you could be like him over there." And
So when people would come for the suits, like, and they would get measured and stuff, then what? They were like, "We want that guy's style. We want this guy to design it, or whatever." Is that how
more
it
or
works?
less. So there was a pecking order. So
Okay.
as an intern in there, my job was steaming everything and doing all the
Okay,
grunt work.
yeah.
Like it sucked. So then after I think the second time I said I wanted to quit, the GM was like, "Listen, you're gonna work. This will work out." So he started grooming me to become more of a stylist for them in there. So it was like teaching clients how to build out their suits and going through the whole
Okay.
spiel with everything. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot from him. But he coached more on like fear and was just like, you need to be nervous around some of these agencies, because we worked a lot with the agencies out there, so high profile people.
Okay.
And it was like, it's no nonsense too when you go there. Like, you go in, they're like, "All right, guys, you got 10 minutes to get this done. We got 15 minutes and you're out."
Okay. Oh, wow.
Everything out there is time. So his thing was, it wasn't real coachable, but I learned a ton from him, if that makes any
Wow.
sense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So-
Interesting.
So I was with them for a few years. It was a ton of change. Like after 5 months, I was a senior member of the company. There was firings and rehirings, and
Oh wow.
it was that point in time they were going through a little bit of a weird change throughout their company.
Okay.
Growing pains. Like they were open for 6 years at the time. They
Okay.
still got finding their footing a little bit in West Hollywood, Beverly Hills area.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that worked out really well. We did a lot of stuff, like season 7 through 10 of RuPaul's Drag Race. I did a lot of the design work for all his suits.
Oh,
So if
wow.
you watch that and saw
Okay.
the suits he was in.
Wow.
We picked a lot of that fabric.
Wow.
The Altman brothers.
Why does that sound familiar?
The real estate show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're clients.
Really?
And then you do a lot of red carpet stuff. So you get people come in. I remember when Logan Paul first started. It was when he was still doing like vlogs and like the little stuff.
Wow.
And he had 2 agents, and they brought him in, and it was. He's a cool dude, but like the whole process of filming yourself 24 hours a day, like it took him 3 takes just to walk into our building, and then you sit down and you pick the fabrics. But I mean, his agents bought him a suit he did Kimmel. It was his first time on Kimmel.
Aww.
And it was a cool process. You get to just seeing him from that point to where he's at now, and you're just like, holy shit, dude! Like,
wow,
just a meteoric rise. And I thought this kid was just going to be a dud, like an in and out. Like you see so many,
right? Of course, yeah.
People that are like him.
Wow.
So you get cool experiences like that, and then you get invited to certain parties and places, and then you meet.
And
the clientele is everywhere. I mean,
that's kind of cool though, even to get a picture of behind the scenes of what a reality show.
Oh yeah, I mean they filmed a couple of them in the shop too, so you get to see the whole production, and then I'm fortunate to work on sets of movies for things, styling or wardrobe direction, and
wow,
yeah, it was very unique.
Wow.
So then I was with them in West Hollywood for I'd say like 3 years, and then. We were trying to work deals out. The San Francisco store wasn't performing as well as the West Hollywood store that they wanted to. So I was trying to quit again.
Yeah.
And I was just over it. It just wasn't, I didn't like the atmosphere down there. It was, I don't know, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So their option was, hey, why don't you go to San Francisco? We want to get the shop back on track. So I went up to San Francisco. And
that's a different world.
It was a whole other world. I've never been there in my life, and we went up, and it was just like the dirtiest city I've ever been in. The first time I got off the BART and walked right, like our shop was right next to City Hall, and I don't know if anybody that's ever been there, but City Hall looks like the Capitol building. Like, it's huge.
Really?
It's enormous. You see just like the junkies sitting on the steps and shooting up like in their necks because they can't find veins, and you're just like.
Oh, Jesus.
It's insane, right?
Wait a minute. So what year was this about?
2017, 18? 17.
Wow.
And so my first day there, I met the staff. There's like 2 or 3 guys. And met everybody, took a lunch. And then I was at lunch, and I got a phone call from one of the associates that was there. And she was like, hey, do you know where this fabric book is? And I was like... No, like I've been here for 15 minutes. I grabbed lunch. I'll come back. He's like, well, we got clients here that want to see some fabrics. So I was like, all right, well, I'll get my lunch. I'll come right back. And they're like, no, just stay there. And I was like, I need to see how this operates. Like, why are you guys not doing the same as us? Like, your market is enormous up here. Like, everybody up here dresses,
like,
not really suit and tie like down there, like the agents, but I mean, they're in overcoats, they're in our knitwear, they're in slacks.
Okay.
So I get back, and the husband and wife are leaving. Yeah, she can't help me. I was like, yeah, come back in here. He had a Niners hat on, so I made a reference to the Niners in Youngstown, and then we started just kind of chopping it up right then and there. And then we get him in there, get him a beer, get her some champagne, and let's try to find you something. So then you just start throwing books at him, seeing where's the wedding going to be at? What colors is she wearing? Do you have groomsmen? Do you have bridesmaids? Because 80% of this job is just listening.
Yeah.
And it's once you listen, the client will tell you what they want.
Right.
And if they don't, they'll give you an idea of where they want to be.
Right.
So this guy, I don't know if you know who Action Bronson is.
No.
He's like a hip hop rapper.
Okay.
He's a big dude, got a big red beard. So this looked like the same guy.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? They're telling me I want to get married in the redwoods. We're gonna get married in the woods. It's gonna be real beautiful.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well. You got that red beard. Let's get you in like maybe a dark green suit. You ever think about something like that? And I'm like, no, it didn't even cross our minds. Then you start showing the fabrics, and they're like, wow, we were thinking like black or white. And I didn't even know you can do like a colored suit.
Yeah.
It turns into one of those deals. So they fell in love with the fabric, and you end up we get them a shirt and the vest and the pant and the jacket, and then have a couple beers, and it becomes like a whole.
Wow.
Ordeal.
And you didn't lose him.
No. He loved it. His wife we're going through the fabric. She's like, he has to wear that one. That has to be the fabric.
Oh.
So right then and there, it's like, all right, this is all you need to do is just listen and figure out what they want. And
right.
So they got that, and then that night, I fired everybody in the shop.
No way.
Yeah, because it was just like they didn't really want to be there. I talked to them throughout the day, and it just the attitude for being up there wasn't really what you wanted, and
right.
So the next morning, I got a phone call from the owners. They're like, "What? Your room was Dutch," and he was just, "What is going on? I can't believe you're doing this." And
that's.
listen, everything is fine. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to sue you. Like, I'm going to fly my kid brother out. Because at the time, my dad's like, yeah, brother want to have a job. He's hanging around a bunch of idiots around here. So
Wow.
I flew him out. I think he was like 17 at the time.
Okay.
And I told the owners, like, I'm going to fly him out. I'm going to teach him everything. He's a quick study. I said, we're going to get this place where it needs to be. So brought him out. I mean, he picked up on everything really quick. Usually it takes like 3 months for us to train somebody to learn how to work the ruler, learn how to work tape.
Wow.
Fit somebody in a jacket, pants, what to look for, stuff like that. And then you can start, doing measurements with a master tailor, things like that.
Okay.
So it started working out. He started getting his own clientele. Stuff started picking up. Because what we just did a whole blitz. We called every client that we had in our books and was like, hey, if you got a piece from us in the last like 4 years and it doesn't fit right or it doesn't work, bring it back in. We'll fix it on us.
Wow.
Or we'll just redo it. So that right there took sales from like under 10 grand. We were at like 40 grand within like 3-4 months. So it did turn the shop completely around. So then I knew my exit strategy. I didn't want to be up there. I didn't like the city. I was in a point in my time where like I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I had kind of an idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I was over the retail industry, going to work, making a shitty paycheck. And I thought there was more that could be made.
Right.
So we were going to work a deal to use their production and me just kind of be like a third party. You collect some money off of whatever my sales are.
Okay.
And I can go out and keep my, my athletes and other clients, celebrities, things like that.
Yeah.
So like, okay, we get to X number, we'll revisit it and we hit an X number like in 2 months.
Wow.
So then it turned into, all right, you got to hire people because if we're going to lose you, we're obviously going to lose your brother. So we get some people in there, train them up, and then, we get to a comfortable level where we think we can, hand the keys over. And next thing you know, they renege on the deal, and it's like, come on, man. Like, we put our time in here. We really, like, hustled up here. Because at that time, I went from, being able to make commission and things like that, and, so that was just a strict salary. So I was putting, I worked, I literally, for that whole year I was up in San Francisco, I worked every single day and was only off one day, and I think it was Christmas.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I worked every day.
Because you were building for something.
It was nuts. So I was like, man, this is not the route. So that night, after the deal fell through, I gave the keys to the restaurant general manager next door. And was like, we're out of here. The owners will be up probably in a couple of days.
No way.
I called them. I said, I left the keys with the guys next door. I said, we're out of here. We packed all our stuff up and went back down to L.A., put our stuff in a storage locker. And at that time, like, COVID was just kind of starting up. People had the flu, but nobody really knew what it was. And we were just like, I was like, all right, G, what do you want to do? We can stay out here and, try to build this down here. It's going to be pricey, or we can go back home and kind of get all our ducks in an order, and I can figure out manufacturing. Then we'll start something there. So we're like, let's go back. We have, he didn't go back for the whole year, so he didn't see anybody. And he grew up a ton, so that was cool seeing his little transition from shitty little 18, 17-year-old to he's now a little mini adult.
Oh, so, trained in
discipline. You're around different groups. You're hearing how adults are talking. You're hearing. You got tech guys. You got businessmen. You got owners of. We had some clients that owned multiple buildings downtown. So it was just like, these are people you're never going to meet really in Youngstown, Ohio on a regular day basis.
No, right.
If at all. So we came back home, and fortunate enough for me, I was able to contact a lot of people that we worked for with the fabric mills and was like, listen, I'm no longer with this company. I said, I'm right in Youngstown, Ohio now. I said, I'm right between Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Nice.
And New York and Chicago. I got a really big radius, and there's nobody really doing what I'm doing. I said, would you be interested in partnering with us, giving us fabrics and, helping us out with manufacturing and things like that. And we got one, and then the next one came, and then the next guy. So now we got mills in Asia. We got mills in Europe. We work still with our mill in L.A. We're starting our own, little factory in Youngstown, as you've seen.
Come on, yes.
So it's like, it's exciting. It's a long process, but, we're starting to come to
definitely
the final product of the full vision of what we want to do with the brand. Like I said, we have our showroom and design room upstairs. The bottom floor of our space, we're going to do like a storefront window.
Nice.
And we have other things in the works, with doing maybe a sandwich shop
collaboration.
Restaurant. Collaboration with certain people.
Yeah.
Because we have the space, we have the building, so it's just like I said, we want to make that corner on Phelps and Federal just like a little hangout.
And that's exactly where. Okay, so guys, just so you could picture where he's at. So if you know where Whistle and Keg is, they just paved the one part of Phelps you can no longer drive on, but the other part it's repaved or something. It's kind of anyway, but you can still drive on it.
So they put the first layer on Federal now. They're hoping to have everything finished December 1st for the
parade.
First night. Yeah, the parade.
Okay.
So Tito promised the city that, so we'll hold our breaths and hopefully it'll be done.
Hopefully, yeah. So if you're coming down West Federal, the first side street you get to is Phelps. You can't take a right if you're in a car, but you can take a left.
Yes.
That corner is Whistle and Keg, and right next door is the private stash.
Mm-hmm. So we have 2 entrances. We have our first floor one, which is still being built out. And then we have a door between ours and Prima's, the Italian restaurant, Prima Cucina.
Okay.
Where we have the stairs leading to the second floor, where our
which to me is very New Yorkish. When I first moved back here, I was looking for a second story for a photography studio.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the door that opened up at the bottom where you walked up the stairs, and then the photography studio was at the top, because I had experienced things like that in New York City where it was like it looks like just some plain door, and then you walk in, it's this beautiful studio.
Yeah.
So I literally, that's actually what I wanted. So it's funny because when I went up into your place, it had that same type of feel where
there's a lot of places in Youngstown
just a hidden,
exactly. You just got to put a little love into them.
You do.
At my place, it was an
Exactly.
absolute disaster. I mean, we had holes in the roof. The walls were all
See, I know, right?
I called on it for like 6 months when I first got back and didn't hear anything. But every morning it was the same call, 10 a.m. Leave a message.
That's a good idea.
I was on vacation, got a call. I said, I don't even want to see it. I'll take it. Because I thought even if it was a wreck on the inside, all the windows alone, I'll use that as advertising space.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a win-win.
So you finally got a call back.
And then we got the call back, and then we went in, and it took their guys a while just to even start things. So my dad and me, we actually kicked them out, and then we finished the project ourselves.
Wow. That's right, because your dad knows his stuff.
So
that's a good connection.
It's a great connection, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's amazing how I always say entrepreneurship is contagious. It really is, because, there was no entrepreneur there were people with ideas in my family, but there was no successful entrepreneurs in my family other than my grandpa was an incredible mechanic. My mom was an incredible, super brilliant nutritionist and nurse practitioner, and literally helped cure people. But she never started her own practice. It was just something that she did when people would come to her, and she'd help them. You know what I mean? So entrepreneurship was not something that I learned from. I did not absorb it from anybody. So it has been like a lot of trial and error, and
that's
a lot of error, right?
Oh yeah.
but
stories I could tell you when I first started. Holy shit.
But I'm hoping that for future generations, whether I know them or don't know them, or basically related or not related, family or not family, that I can set that precedent, because basically it's a hard road to hoe, and even with people ahead of you, but when you don't have people ahead of you, and that's why there's a couple local agencies. One I did a Youngstown Click interview on, Valley Partners, which really helps hold people's hands and stuff. And these places that I'm finding out about, again, like you said, so many great things happening in Youngstown, and we just disconnected from them. You don't get any kind of benefit or anything. So anyway. Now I'm rambling, but yeah, that's...
No, listen, you got some of these buildings, these old bank buildings and stuff, and people don't realize there's other little businesses, small businesses in there. And it's like, if only there was a directory or a billboard on the first floor ground level that shows hey, this is a big building, but it's not
it's not just
all not a bank all the way through the whole thing. You know what I mean? I think one of them has one of them has a recording studio in it. One of them has
the Huntington building. In the Huntington building, yeah.
So it's there's a lot of stuff, but it's
yeah. And in the Commerce building, there's the Youngstown studio. It's crazy.
So it's cool. You just got to explore a little bit.
Okay, so speaking of that, I cannot believe, I just looked at the thing. We've been an hour, which is so amazing, because it's never there's still stuff we can talk about.
Oh yeah.
But to wrap this up, I always like to ask. So I'm going to ask you to give your followers, because are you on Facebook or just Instagram, or what do you want?
I only use Instagram. We have a Facebook.
Okay.
I check it very rarely.
Okay, so the best way to follow you is on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's Private Stash.
Yep.
Okay.
Private Stash _.
Private Stash _
Yes.
So guys, if you want to find him and follow him on Instagram to see some of his styles, to see his designs, and just kind of follow him, make sure you go to private_stash_ on Instagram and www.privatestash.com. Okay. So that's how you can reach out to him and connect with him. Now, I'm going to ask you our last and final question. One that I like to ask everybody, because when we're a click, I know about more, not because I'm always able to go there, but because my friends and people part of the click all say, oh, you got to try this, you got to try that. So we want to know your favorite. We're going to just make it 3 places because I'm sure you have a lot of different. So 3 of your favorite places here in the Youngstown or the Youngstown area. We cover the region between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. So it could be, but basically that you would like to take people from out of town to, or you would look forward to going, or maybe it was like when you came back to town, you were excited to go to, or just places you go all the time. So 3 of your favorite places that you would tell to Youngstown Click, oh, you got to check these out.
3 places. I would say Tino's, and Tino's. No, I'm just playing now.
Look at that for family loyalty.
No bias. His place it's amazing.
Tino's Italian Grill,
Italian Kitchen
in Warren.
So if you're looking for something fast, I would go there 100%. You're gonna impress anybody you take there because the food is it's no bullshit. I'm not saying it because he's my brother. Like I would tell you, shit's trash if it was. But you got to really. He's gonna start, I believe, a bread company as well right next door.
Oh, okay.
So something fast and casual, I would go there. Downtown Youngstown, Prima Cucina. When I first moved back, I lived off of that. That was like a staple 3 nights a week for a full 2 years.
Yeah, and their artichoke appetizer is unexpectedly delicious.
Oh yeah. So I was pescatarian for the first year I came back. Oh, just because when I came back, I put on like a ton of weight from just eating pasta and bread. I was like, you know what, I need to change up the diet a little bit. So I did that.
So what's pescatarian? You only have fish. That's the only kind of
fish
meat
and veggies. Yeah.
Okay.
No meats, and it was hard.
Can you have legumes?
What's that?
Beans and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could have, but can you have
no
bread?
Meat.
No meat, but can you have
meat.
like bread? Okay, potatoes and stuff you could have? Okay.
So I did that, and I lived off of their eggplant. It's a very...
Really?
It's unbelievable. It looks like a huge piece of lasagna, and it's so good.
Okay.
So I lived off of that.
Nice
Listen, Josh and then Tim down there, they're doing a really good thing.
Nice.
And I highly recommend their facility down there, their kitchen.
Okay. Now, is it still, you have to make reservations?
You need to make reservations to be there, but you can always go in, I think, if there's room at the bar and have a seat.
Okay, and just walk in. Okay.
They also have a beautiful basement. Holds, I think, like 50 people, 25 people.
Oh, nice. For like little gatherings and stuff.
Gatherings, bigger
cool.
parties. And then they also have a space right behind our little downstairs spot.
Yeah.
That'll hold like private parties, like a little banquet room.
Wow. I didn't know all that.
Yeah, they got some room down there. They could definitely host.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, I think the best pizza would be Avalon downtown.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So like those 3, yeah,
I like it.
I mean, there's so many I can go to, but like
that's good.
We were joking around earlier, like I'm not gonna say unless you want to, go to some of them restaurants.
Yeah.
But like you want the local good eats, like you want good pizza, go to Avalon. You want a good little Italian dish, go to Prima downtown. I also, and my brother Tino's. He's got a good fast casual.
Okay, in Warren. Next to Raphael or Niles.
Niles in the Raphael's Plaza.
In Raphael's Plaza. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joe Guerrieri, for taking the time to come and to sit. Once again, guys, I just want to remind you that we are at Cigarro Cigar Lounge here in Hubbard, Ohio. For all the cigar lovers in your life, they have cigars here that you cannot get anywhere else other than the place they're rolled out in Miami, and those are the house cigars. So swing on out, try a cigar, get one for your cigar lover in your life.
We talked about hidden gems. This place, it's cool. It's like a little clubhouse. It feels like you're in like a little treehouse. Even the downstairs and the upstairs, it's like
right.
It's got a really cool little vibe in here. I highly recommend stopping down here and try it. They got a good little selection of cigars. I had myself a nice little one.
Nice. Yeah, I'm super appreciative. So Steve and Jamie, if you're listening, thank you again for letting us do the podcast here because it's just a very inviting, comfortable place.
Very comfortable. Yeah. I mean, when people come here, it's worth the stop, 100%. To see what's going on.
They even get truck drivers that park their trucks and then come down here for a cigar just to chill and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so Thanks again to Ohio Flame. Guys, make sure you go check them out. They are original supporters of Youngstown Click podcast, Be Connected. And then the Gallagher, you could find them on Facebook, and you could they have links on there so you could actually see what some of the rooms look like. You could book them, especially for your family coming in for the holidays. Sometimes things get a little bit crowded. So definitely check that out. And as always, thank you for listening. And don't ever forget that you are the best part of what makes this region click. Don't ever underestimate your worth in connecting and making somebody's day, because you are important and you are the best part of what makes Youngstown click. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Thank you again, Joe.
Absolutely.
All right, let's play some music here.
Go.
Yeah.
Take us home.
Take us home. All right.